episode of WatchJRGo. I'm selling the most reliable car I've ever owned. What is going on, guys? I am WatchJRGo, and today I am here with my 2017 Tesla Model X that I bought from Rich Rebuilds. And it has been absolutely reliable. Today we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about the car a little bit. We're gonna talk about why I'm selling it and what's coming next in the future. Oh, maybe we'll save that for another day. So behind me is my 2017 Model X 90D, like I said. This is one of the early Model X's when Tesla was absolutely changing the game. The Falcon Wing doors, light shows for Christmas, just all kinds of cool things like biohazard defense mode that closes as much of the car as it can off from the outside and filters all the air through the giant cabin filter. If you've never seen a cabin filter in a Model X, they're like this big. You think I'm kidding, but they are this big. It's a really crazy filtration system that was honestly really cool. The glass roof that extends all the way to the doors. What a cool car. And it's pretty quick. It's not fast like any of the new ones, but it's pretty quick and it could haul your family around. And also the middle row of seats moves and they're completely powered. You can move the back seats from the touchscreen. All right, let's hop in this thing and take a quick look around. So one of the coolest things about the early Model X's is everything could be automated. You can actually set this door to automatically open as you walk up to it. And when you put your foot on the brake, okay, it doesn't want to do it today. But when you put your foot on the brake, the door closes automatically for you. The door hates me today. At least it does have soft close. All right, let's see if it works. Obviously, all of the climate turns on as you're walking up to the car as well, which is nice. Let me put my foot on the brake. All right, the door still works. There's nothing wrong there. Had me worried for a second there, Tesla. Right when I decided to say this car doesn't brake, it brakes? Nah, I think everything is okay. So look at that. If you just open the handle, the door opens for you, closes for you. That is a level of technology that Rolls-Royce can't do. If you've been in a Phantom, you know you push the button behind you and the door closes automatically. Doors should open automatically for you too. And this car knocked that out of the park. And I love it for that. Now the Model X has every feature in the world, including 22-inch wheels, big turbine wheels in your face. They look great. Awesome lighting all the way around. One of the coolest things when you're driving at night is the high beams. They're auto, of course, as they should be. They fade on and then they snap off. When you're coming up on somebody, they're instantly turned off so it doesn't blind them. And then as soon as they pass you, they just fade back on. What a perfect nighttime driving experience. This thing gets a lot of stuff right. I have to say the Model X, it gets so many things right. And if we have its key, which we do here somewhere, you can even open all the doors from the remote. So we'll double tap right there, open some more Falcon Wing action, double tap to open the back. And no matter how many doors are open on this thing, if you hit lock, it closes them all. Every door, driver door, passenger, the trunk. It can't close the front, but it closes everything else. And it looks stunning. What a great car. Anyway, I bought this car for one real reason, and that was to put 400,000 miles on it, basically, right? We all know these things are going 300,000 to 400,000 miles with basically no issues. And my entire goal came from my first Tesla, that Model S we had. Now that Model S was early on, it was a 2012, and it had a large drive unit in the back. And of course we know from the videos I made on that car, the large drive unit has issues where the seals fail into the inverter basically, and it fills it up with coolant. And when the coolant hits the inverter, well, bad things happen eventually after it sits in there long enough, and you lose the big motor. Now the big motor, oh, she's charging now. I decided to plug it in since it's sitting here with the heat running. This Model X is not a performance, it's just a 90D, so a 90 kilowatt hour battery. And in the 90Ds, they're all-wheel drive with a small motor in the front and a small motor in the back. And those small motors are known to go kind of forever. So you see a lot of reports about cars with STUs just driving and driving and driving and driving. And this one already had a bunch of maintenance done when Rich owned it, like the air manifold block for the air suspension and the front CVs that cause vibrations in the front end. So it was basically totally fixed. and I took it on some road trips. Let's hop in the car and talk about road trips. So when you think about it, an EV with a considerable amount of range like a Tesla is the ideal road trip vehicle. It's got autopilot. Right now you can see the car is steering, and you just nudge the wheel every once in a while and it will just keep going right on down the road. Everything around here is just straight highways. In fact, this is a good example of every road within 10 hours of me. They all look like this, so it's no big deal to just let autopilot drive the car all the time. And in my Volt with Comma, I can do that. I hit cruise, I sit back, and I just relax. Sit in the car for 3 hours, and you made it to your destination for what? $40 or something like that, when a flight would have cost 300 round trip to 600 round trip, somewhere in that ballpark, right? So it's always cheaper to just take the car, pile miles on it, and it costs you almost nothing. So it's just awesome. Other than the giant waste of your time having to sit in the car for 6 hours instead of a 1 hour or 30-minute flight, it's a very cost effective. I mean, so cheap to drive over flying. And that's really the goal here, is that we get to go places without having to drive. And this seemed like the SUV to do it. I can haul everybody. I can have 7 people in here and we can just go all over the country. Nobody wants to go with you. I'll tell you right now, once you have to stop and charge every hour and a half or 2 hours, this thing can only go, it says it goes 275 on a full charge, but once you're out on the highway going 85, it's not that far. And the thing is, you also can't run out of battery, so you gotta leave yourself like a 50-mile buffer, because it's at least 50 to 100 miles in between chargers. So if you're wrong big. Now, I've talked about this a lot, and on the coasts, obviously it's different, where there's chargers everywhere, but in the Midwest, there are chargers nowhere, and it just makes it really hard to road trip. So, somewhere between not enough chargers and having to charge all the time, it makes road trips not very fun. And the other reason I'm selling it is I never got to drive it. I pretty much drove this thing home from Boston, and then of course that Ford Focus had the transmission issue. So while that was in the shop, I wasn't driving this. And then, of course, my sister wrecked her car and needed a car that could hold a family. For some reason, I have a bunch of family SUVs, and she took this, and I got it back last night. So from the time I got this until now, I drove home from Boston, and then I took it to Denver for free. I'll give it was free, but it was a very painful road trip. And that was it. That's all I've driven this car. So I got back in it a minute ago, and I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't sell this car. It's so good. It's so good to drive. I forgot, you know, it's got a nice light steering wheel for the most part that does what you want. The way the power's delivered, the regen's way too weak. I wish the regen was about triple, but for some reason, it doesn't like to have enough regen. And it's on standard, it's not on light regen. Power delivery, linear, like I said, it does everything perfectly. You get in, everything's on, ready to go. It's already hot. The heated seats turn on automatically based on if someone's sitting in the seat or not. Heated steering wheel if you want it. This thing has everything. It also has the ultra fidelity audio. You get in, it sounds great. What a car. But I think it's time to part ways with it. Also, I need to buy a car that can road trip better. We have a road trip coming up, like every year. I'm going to Porsche Palooza, and this won't make it. It literally, there's no chargers really in between Wichita and Eureka Springs. So I might be able to stop in like Webb City and charge. I think there might be one there, but I would have to stop for 8 hours there because it's not a supercharger. It's just a level 2. And then once we got there, I wouldn't be able to go drive any of the amazing Arkansas roads with the crew. I'd have to plug it back in at the place we're staying, and the car would not be ready. It takes about 3 days on level 1. I think 3 days to a full charge. So 8-ish hours on level 2, 3 days if you're on 110. You shouldn't charge on 110. That's a given. Everyone knows that. But when you're going places where there are no chargers, what are you gonna do? You charge on 110. So this car needed to be replaced before that road trip because I need something that can handle the Midwest. Now I know these complaints are easily resolved if you live on a coast or you charge every night. When this thing's being daily driven, it gets charged probably every other day. That's how my sister was charging it. It worked great for her, running to the hospital where she works and back home. Perfect, right? And when it's a daily driver at my house, level 2 charging in the garage, perfect. It's charged when you wake up, but when you're going on road trips, which is the whole reason I bought this car, it just failed. when you want to put 400,000 miles on a car doing free road trips, the car falls flat in a big way. So, for those reasons, I'm out. I do love this car though, look at this, just driving down the road. Everything's perfectly laid out, everything works great. Really, the only thing this car needs is MCU2, which I didn't do. It's about $2,000 to have Tesla come do that, but they replace both screens, and the touchscreen is twice as fast, 3 times as fast, and you can watch Netflix when it's charging. So it's a huge upgrade to go to MCU2, and I was thinking about doing it when I was keeping the car forever, but at this point, you know, I put a couple thousand miles on the car. We should just say goodbye to it. If you're interested in buying it, go ahead and shoot me an email. It's just WatchJRGo at that email place with the G, you know. So the link is also in my bio if you want. This car is ready to go. I think it'll go anywhere in the US, but it might take you a lot of charging stops, I can tell you that much. Also, I've got brand new brakes for it in the back because the rotors, when I picked it up from Rich, they don't look great. I might put brakes on it before it leaves. If not, they'll be in the back of it. One of the two. Closing the door on my chapter with the Model X. It was a great car. It never had any problems, but I never got to drive it, and it also doesn't road trip the way I want it. It's really hard to put 400,000 miles on something when you have to stop every 200 miles. It's a lot of stops, it's a lot of free charging, but I can tell you I'd much rather do it in one of my gas cars where Wichita to Denver is 1 stop, if that. I think my Volt does it in no stops. My truck does it in no stops. It's just crazy having to stop 5 times and wait an hour at every one of those things when any combustion engine car has 0 problem making the same trip. And I know people have a bunch of different arguments like, well, you could just slow down and live life slower. No, you can't. I've got stuff to do in my life, and I do not want to be sitting at a charger. Even if I can work at the charger, I can get all the work done at the first stop. And after that, it's just an absolute waste of my life where I'm forced to sit there and watch Reels or TikToks or something like that. So I'm not having it. I'm selling this car, even though I love it. As a daily, unbelievable daily, it's so good. But as the road trip car that I wanted to put miles on until it was worthless, it's not very good at that. That is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to head on over to shop.watchjrgo.com for cool shirts, not like this, like the one I'm wearing underneath it. And please like, share, subscribe, do whatever you want to do, and I will talk to you next time. All right, I gotta run right now. I'm headed to SEMA. If you're at SEMA, come say hi. I'll be there Thursday, Friday, leaving sometime Saturday. I mean, obviously I'll be there today too, so come say what's up if you're there, and maybe next year we'll bring a car. So let's close this thing up and get out of here.